Hello everyone, welcome back to FFGLive. My name is Evan Johnson and I'm joined here today by Grace Holdinghaus.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
It's lovely to have you here. So we're here today to talk about something that you may all already be aware of as things may be. But this is the next expansion for Journeys in Middle-earth. It is Shadowed Paths. Yeah.
Yes, the big box expansion.
Yeah.
Much anticipated.
It's super cool. The first big box expansion for the game.
So
what's the 2-minute elevator pitch? What's this expansion all about?
Right. So, Shadowed Paths takes your new team of heroes or any of your old heroes through a 13 adventure campaign through Mirkwood into the halls of Moria, fighting new enemies, new roles, new items, new challenges.
Yeah.
It's incredibly exciting.
That's awesome. That is very exciting. Those are some of my favorite places, right up there in northern Middle-earth. Yeah, anytime that there's like overlap between, the places of like The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings and like bringing that whole world together is something that I really enjoy.
I think it's super exciting. I just think that between Mirkwood and Moria, there's some pretty hefty threats the heroes might face.
Yeah.
Intimidating.
Absolutely. Well, we'll look at those before too long here. So this is the first big box for Journeys in Middle-earth. How much? Give me a sense of how much content is in this as compared to like the core set and then like the Villains of Eriador.
All right.
Pack.
So with Shadowed Paths, we are just shy of doubling the content that you got in the core set.
Wow.
So you get 5 new heroes, you get a slew of new enemies, which we'll talk more about later, 5 new roles to go with those heroes, and a bunch of new items with their upgrades, new trinkets, new titles, new everything.
Sure, so it is almost like an additional core set's worth of material. That's pretty good. It comes with a new campaign, as you mentioned. That's 13 scenarios. Will you play through all 13 in a single playthrough?
So with those 13 adventures, they're strung together in a branching campaign style, so you won't actually play all of them in a single sitting. You'll be faced with choices both on like what order to do things in, which will have impacts on how difficult some adventures are, but also then what finale you play in the end. So you'll play up to 11 scenarios in a single go-round, but potentially less than that.
Sure, based on the choices that you make
Exactly.
and the results and all that. More map tiles in this expansion as well?
Yep, more journey map tiles, and then new terrain tokens for your battle maps.
Sure, so no new battle map boards, but there's new terrain to go on there.
And again, it's the number of journey map tiles is I think 20 versus the core set's 22, so it's almost doubling.
Wow, that's so cool. And some of the I've been looking at some of the journey map tiles, and especially the ones in like Moria. Anytime it goes like underground is like very cool. And like the core set journey map tiles were excellent, of course, but a lot of the underground ones there were much more like natural, like cave formations, right? Whereas seeing here, you have a lot of these like very orderly like rooms and corridors like of the dwarves and stuff, and it looks so good.
I think we have a treasure chamber in there, and that's some really cool art. And then also, I think we intersperse some cool structures in Mirkwood to give that like really shadowed, tangled feel along with the elven court. Yeah,
absolutely. I see a question here. Any updates to old campaigns to use the new terrain tokens or map tiles? Like, are those going to be integrated?
That's great. Because our app integration means that maps, especially journey maps, are procedurally generated, those old campaigns, both Hunt for the Ember Crown and Bones of Arnor, will use your new content. The tiles, the enemies, the items even can show up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good question.
So it's not just like, in addition to like, almost in our core set's worth of content, it also goes back and makes all your existing content that much more
and what's more, you can even play your new heroes with their new roles in those campaigns as well to try to change it up.
With the new roles.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about heroes. So this box has 5 heroes, and we can actually show a couple of these off here. I know people have been excited for Gandalf.
I'm so glad we finally get to talk about Gandalf.
Yeah, Gandalf looks so cool. He's got his staff and his hat.
And his sword.
Yep, all the essential parts.
He was super fun to design. I'll be happy to talk about both his hero card and his hero skill cards.
Yeah, we'll pull those up in just a second after we finish showing some people some minis.
Sure.
We've got Eleanor here, who so this is not a character from the books, but
Correct.
from kind of our like the LCG and
our other games
exactly.
in Middle Earth. She's a Gondorian noblewoman. And she is recommended to start with the Traveler role. So she's kind of an all-arounder kind of character who's great at exploring new areas and picking up tokens where she can.
Yeah, and we'll go back to Gandalf shortly, but I did want to mention that he's supposed to start with the meddler role, which I think is perfect.
He's a meddler, and I think that it's really fun to play Bilbo as a meddler too.
Oh, sure, that makes sense.
That's very fun.
Will there be a conjurer of cheap tricks at some point?
I don't know about that. I think that would have to be specific to Gandalf, don't you think?
Of course, of course. I love this pose where she's got like the scabbard in one hand and the sword in the other. That is just amazing.
It's super quick response. She's just gonna dive right in.
Yeah.
I think my favorite is Dis here.
Oh yeah.
And she's a dwarf hero, but she's the sister of Thorin in canon. And I really wanted to feature her because she can roll up with her warhammer and teach everybody what's what.
Yeah, I love how like short and chunky these dwarf miniatures are. They're very like solid feeling, like they have like a little bit of a weight to them.
Well, and with all that adorned armor, I am super excited to get my hands on her to paint her.
Yeah.
I think she's going to be really impressive on the board.
And she's not the only dwarf, because we also have Balin here.
Oh,
as
yeah.
well.
I'm actually really pleased with the way this sculpt came out, but also his hero cards were able to utilize the same kind of mechanics that Gimli has with kinship and with those wonderful dwarf support mechanics.
And is this like a thrush or a raven that he's got?
A raven, actually. He has a raven companion.
That's cool. That's very cool. So there's Balin. And then the fifth hero, we don't have the miniature here to show you here today, but the fifth hero is Arwen, of course.
Yes, my girl Arwen.
Yeah.
And she's recommended to start as a healer class. And that makes, an herbalist. Her ability is to heal.
Yes.
And so if you're struggling with maybe taking too much fear and damage because of these chunky monsters we're introducing in this set and all of the darkness, definitely consider picking up Arwen. She's going to help you a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll get a little more into Gandalf in a second. There's a question I saw here. Are there any plans for like standalone scenarios or like one shots? Like I have friends who come over, we don't want to play a whole campaign. What can we do?
Unfortunately, not at this time, or at least not that I can talk about.
Yeah.
The standalone mode of play, I completely understand the thirst for it. But this is primarily a campaign style game. We really want to be able to tell stories and be able to dive into these characters and see them progress and upgrade. So currently with the app, it is just campaign.
Yeah. All right, well, let's take a little bit of a closer look at Gandalf in terms of his hero card, which is going to pop up on your screens here. So I'll just give that a read real quick. So he's got, I won't read through all his stats, but basically once per round, after you discard a prepared skill with the fate symbol, you gain 1 inspiration and scout 1.
Yep, it's a pretty powerful ability, and I'm hearing... right now the calls of fans of like, isn't that broken?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, his hero skill cards contain no successes.
Whoa.
So he really relies on those fate to be able to accelerate into his true power.
So is that then, how does that play into like capturing this like uniquely important and powerful character in the lore and bringing that to life in the game?
For sure. I am not afraid to tell you, I was a little intimidated to take on Gandalf as a design challenge because he is well, he's one of the most powerful beings in this world, and how do you put him on the same level as any other hero and still feel like Gandalf? And then, of course, looking at the lore in the books, he is on the same level as Bilbo and Gimli and Aragorn, because he chooses to be, and because he adventures as a hero doing what he can to help out the good in the world. And so we really looked at what can this very incredibly powerful character do early on. Maybe he's a little late. Maybe he's a little, he chooses to focus on too many things, or he doesn't see the full picture quite yet. And so this kind of mechanical character starts off more difficult and weaker in some ways, and then accelerates into these super huge like combos or higher skill, higher power cap near the end.
For sure. Is that, and it's something that kind of like plays into his role in the books, where he's not necessarily like the one-man champion against like
he's
the
not
forces.
Hurling fireballs at everyone.
Right, he's flaming pine cones maybe. But he's a meddler or like an enabler, and he's like
clever. He's tricky.
He's like, I'm just gonna give you what you need to like go get this done.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's take a look then at his hero skill cards. So we'll just read these out one by one.
Sure.
So I'll start with this first one here. So this first one, number 1, is Grey Pilgrim. Once per round, when you scout, you may reveal 1 additional card, and then it has Guard 2 to discard to prevent damage.
And that's a card with Fate on it.
Yeah.
And so you'll have to really kind of balance. I want to keep that out for as long as possible because it's enhancing every scout, like each round. The first scout I do, or maybe it's the last one because I want to prepare for my next turn, it just gets that bigger impact. So then how far do you push that before you want that Fate back in your deck to start enhancing tests with your inspiration? How long do you go before you need to use that guard? There's the choice there.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to give this next card a read? Number 2?
My favorite Gandalf card, possibly, is Uncanny. It has 2 Fate on it, and during your turn, you can discard this skill to, it's search your deck, right?
Yes,
search your deck for a weakness and remove that card from the game. So you, as Gandalf, it doesn't matter if you have 2 or even 3 weaknesses in your deck at the time. If you've accrued those through your campaign, if you can get this card out, you can play a deck with 0 weaknesses. Because why have a weakness when you're Gandalf?
Yeah, Gandalf has no weaknesses.
Exactly.
People are asking about a Balrog mini. I don't know what they're talking about. There's no Balrog mini in this expansion. Well, let's keep going through Gandalf's cards. All right, so his next one, card number 3, he's got Flame Imperishable. When you prepare this skill, gain 1 inspiration. When you test, you may discard this skill to convert 1 fate into 1 success.
So that's one of those cards that you are heavily incentivized to just cycle out as quickly as possible because you keep wanting that. When it hits the board, it gives you an inspiration for free, and then it makes another test better.
Yeah. So it's just going to like go through your deck
But note that it is a blank, so you might want to sit on it for a bit just to get it out of your deck.
Yeah, absolutely. And then card number 4, you want to read that?
Greater Power. This just has 5 separate keywords on it. It has Strike 2, Sprint 2, Guard 2, Rest 2, and Hide.
That's pretty cool.
So when that's on the table, you get to choose whatever you want to do, whatever you need most at that point in time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the final card here, Dazzling Flash. So it says 2 fate icons, tactic. When you attack an enemy in your space, discard this skill to add smite and stun to the attack.
Yeah, because Gandalf should be able to take down a white.
For sure. Okay, so in Journeys in Middle-earth, kind of taken as a whole, like a hero's identity is split between their hero card and then their skill cards. How do you typically approach designing for that split? And are there aspects of a hero that you usually want to capture with the skill cards, like Gandalf's
sure. I think it was really important to capture Gandalf's use of magic and his supernatural interaction with this world in his hero cards, because we didn't want to put that in a role. It wouldn't fit with someone like Aragorn throwing around a fireball, and roles can be freely used by any hero. And so it was really important to get that Dazzling Flash or that Flame Imperishable into Gandalf's hero cards so that they be specific to him and make him unique, while also then looking at his stats. What was he using to test? We need to make sure that his wisdom's super high because that fits for Gandalf. And then when we started digging deeper and deeper into Gandalf, we started seeing some pretty large numbers. I'm not certain if the stream caught it on his hero card, but he has a high inspiration cap, high health, and high fear, which is different than what we've done for any other hero.
Yeah.
Just to really capture what it is to be a starry.
That's awesome. How do you then and then how do you balance that against like other heroes? Is it primarily through having him play the sort of enabler role where it's like he doesn't have his own successes and that kind of thing?
There is that. It's also just early on in the game when Gandalf is still trying to build up his prepared cards and his inspiration so that he can pass those tests. He doesn't really want to be on the front line. He wants to be hanging back and maybe searching tokens or exploring new tiles instead of facing off against like a dozen orcs right now.
Sure.
So that's where characters like Aragorn or our new Dis and Balin are gonna really come in handy.
Yeah, awesome. We're pretty close to having like an all-dwarf party. I mean, you could do it with just 3 players.
Yeah, even with just running 2. You can just run Balin and Dis and have a good old time in Moria.
Yeah.
The only time Balin has a good time in Moria.
The best time. Okay, so Shadow Pass, as we mentioned, the entirely new campaign takes you, through Mirkwood and Moria. Aside from, the locales that you travel through, what sets this campaign apart from previous campaigns? What makes this one different?
Sure. Well, we've added some capabilities to the app that weren't there before. So the way that we've done branching choices will look new and will feel new. It will have more of an impact on how the campaign progresses. And then we've also added a new mechanic in corruption that is wholly in the app. That you'll see a lot in this campaign and might even show up in other campaigns now.
Oh, interesting.
Once you buy this expansion and enable it in the app. So the enemies that you'll face, as well as these other threats, through this very branching campaign, make it so that I don't think that I've played the same campaign of this twice.
Sure.
Even through all of our testing.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about corruption. What does that mean? How does that work?
Sure. So corruption we've added as a new potential threat that can lead to a last stand and even eliminate your hero from an adventure. Corruption is gained primarily through the choices that the heroes make. Maybe you're tempted to pick up this mysterious trinket that's very, very powerful, but that's going to come with costs down the line.
Sure.
So corruption is this value, much like your health and fear damage value, that will carry actually throughout the campaign, not just that adventure. It sticks with your hero for the entire length of the campaign and causes that threat and that pressure to maybe make those choices.
Sure. So if you take too much corruption, it can trigger a last stand, like you've been, pulled to the dark side.
Exactly. When Boromir breaks and tries to take the ring, or when you become too afraid or too despairing to even go on.
Yeah, absolutely. I see a question here in the chat about weaknesses. And so basically, as it stands, there's no difference between the different weakness cards, other than art and title and stuff. Is that your intention with it going forwards as merely thematic, or would you ever look at doing something else to differentiate weaknesses?
Oh, developers hate being put into boxes. I can't say I'll never do it,
right.
But I will say the primary use for me for those weaknesses is those story moments. When I flip it into a test and I see that I failed because my weakness came up, I love going, oh no, I'm late, or something like that.
So foolish.
Yeah, fool of a took. And so it's those moments that I really love with those unique art and flavor titles.
All right, let's talk a little bit about monsters. So we've got a number of different monsters. I believe there's 7 new monster types in this. So let's kind of go through those and take a look at what we've got here. We've got for any arachnophobes out here, we got this little giant spider.
I think everyone could have called this once they knew we were going to Mirkwood. We gotta have spiders in there. These giant spiders that'll just swarm and overwhelm you. So those are exciting.
Excellent. And then we have more bigger spider.
This is our Spawn of Ungoliant
okay.
sculpt, and this one will be very important to the Shadowed Paths campaign. Spoiler alert. You'll definitely see this one popping up, and just too big.
Yeah.
Too big, too creepy.
Yeah. We've got some Silmarillion reference in the title. I like that. That's good stuff. We've got some regular like goblins and whatnot.
Yeah, if we're going to Moria, you gotta have goblins.
Of course.
So this guy's a pit goblin specifically, and he's ranged, much like our Orc Hunter in the base game.
Sure.
But he's a little smaller, and so you'll get swarms of this guy popping up even on lower level adventures and having to deal with them.
Yeah, swarming goblins. I like that little pickaxe he's got on his back.
Oh, yeah.
That's a nice little touch.
Well, he's got to work in the mines when he's off duty as a grunt, I guess.
Yeah, during his free time. This Orc Taskmaster.
I love that whip.
Yeah, it looks very nice.
That. So the Orc Taskmaster might even show up as a specific villain in this coming campaign. You might see him early. But the Taskmasters are also making use of all the other goblins and orcs that are on the map, and so now that we have a lot of different orc and goblin figures, you might see some more unique interactions with those once one of these enemies spawns.
Sure. We've got here a Shadow Man. So this is kind of like a ghost spirit sort of enemy, right?
Right. The Forsaken, the Forsworn, the Oathbreakers who cannot find rest in death. Definitely some spooky ghosts in Moria.
Yeah.
And other places as well. And so, of course, you're going to need some access to Smite to deal with them. I'm excited to paint him some ghostly blue or green. Yeah.
You could get some really nice ethereal sort of vibes on that. Here we have this one. Its name is the Nameless Thing.
Its name is the Nameless Thing.
Yeah.
So these ancient worms exist underneath the mines of Moria, and they move uniquely because they don't walk across the map. They're burrowing under it. So you might have to employ some different tactics in order to fight these giant worms.
They're just kind of like
they're just gonna. You can't stop them. They're gonna come to your space.
Nice. All right.
Did we look at the cave troll?
Yeah. We'll show the cave troll as well.
It's one of my favorite minis because he's just so hunched over and scaly. He's got his nice bone club there. So yeah, we can answer a question if you saw one popping up.
Yeah. They were just asking about the different classes. If you just want to run down really quick the names of the classes.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So there's Meddler.
Yep, Gandalf recommended start as a Meddler. We've got Balin recommended start as a Delver. Might have been able to predict that one. We have Smith for Dis. We have Traveler for Eleanor. And then we have Herbalist for Arwen.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. All right. Well, I think we have put it off long enough. Let's get the Balrog out and show everybody.
Drums in the deep.
So there he is. They may need to adjust the camera to
capture
his full glory.
He's very big. I love his wings.
Yeah, just those huge wings are amazing.
And of course,
the whip and the sword.
That's a big debate in the Lord of the Rings world. Do Balrogs actually have wings or not?
Right,
well,
or is it just like an aura of shadow?
Right.
Yeah.
You can paint it however you want, but I like the wings.
I also like the wings personally. Yeah. Give me some sweet bat wings. I am all about that. How afraid should people be of this?
I will say, this Balrog, the one that exists underneath Moria, Durin's Bane, Flame and Shadow, cannot die.
Oh,
he
that's
cannot be defeated. So I do think that you should be fairly afraid. You should probably run away if you see this figure hit the map.
That's excellent. That's awesome. What sets these monsters apart from the monsters in the core set?
We've employed a couple of different mechanics, both in how they move and how they attack. I've already noted how the Nameless Thing is hard to keep away from you, but also then the Shadow Men can't be stopped by walls. They're just gonna fly through those caves, beelining for you. As well as then the way that we now have more orcs and goblins for the Taskmaster to play with, and this Balrog who just will not stay down.
Yeah, that's awesome. What do you think people have to be most excited about with Shadowed Paths here?
There's so much. I guess that's my answer. That there's just so much content.
Yeah.
I would be very excited as a player and a consumer to get this expansion, even if I only wanted to play through an older campaign with my friends, play Bones of Arnor and see all of these new enemies, or play it as a new character with new equipment. We didn't touch too much on those items, but I think people will be really excited to see, for instance, Gandalf's walking stick and Dis's hammer.
Yeah, we'll have more to show of that in future previews. We'll probably do some gameplay with this in the future.
I'm dying to.
Yeah.
It'll be very exciting.
Yes, that would be excellent. Do you have anything else that you want to say to the fans before we sign off?
I've been really excited to see how passionate people get about this game line. And I'm excited to see what they're going to do with this amount of content, this campaign that is very new. I'm anticipating great things.
Yeah, new adventure, new heroes, new roles, new monsters, new items, all kinds of stuff. So this is an $80 box, and it's planned for release in May of this year. So about 3 months or so.
My birthday month.
Oh,
I get a treat.
What a birthday present! All right. One last question I see for you. Will there be more digital-only campaigns?
Yes, I can confidently say that I love the way that our apps can have downloadable campaigns.
Yeah.
And I know that is something that we are excited to do.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everybody so much for watching. We stream every Tuesday and Thursday, so come back on Thursday, especially if you're a Keyforge fan. We're going to be announcing the new set, the 4th set for Keyforge on that day, so that'll be very exciting. Thank you so much, Grace, for joining us.
Thank you all for watching, and thank you for playing.
Of course. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Thanks to Carolina Game Tables for this table. You can catch this video on YouTube if you're watching it after the fact, and we'll see you later.